Yo, hey, what's up, y'all? It's John Manalo. So I have a pair of 2001 Cool Grey 11s that I have for you guys in this video. Damn, they're so messed up. So I asked my boy to see if he had anything for me to do for content, and he showed me these. So, oh, by the way, if you guys have a pair of shoes that are so utterly destroyed, so utterly messed up, so mutter that you just want to throw them away, send me an email. Let me see what they look like, and I'll see what I can do. I'll do for the F. You know, I want to make a video out of them, of course. So yeah, just let me know. All right, y'all. Take care and God bless. Yay! What's up, y'all? So we have a pair of 2001 Cool Grey 11s. The patent leather has completely oxidized to this brownish olive color. The soles are also brown. I'm also gonna do a full reglue just because they're from 2001. So why do I keep saying that? 2001? It's 2001, y'all. Alright, so I'm gonna tear them apart, replace the air bubble that has been popped, which is, you know, all of them are gonna be popped at this point. They're damn near almost, this shoe is almost old enough to drink, you know what I mean, legally in the States. As I'm taking them apart, I can tell that they've been re-glued by somebody else. So I don't know what they did to the shoes, but it might affect the final outcome of the entire project. So I'm just gonna do my best and just see what I'm working with. Some parts of the sole were re-glued, so I'm going to use acetone and a syringe to get into those nicks and crannies to melt the adhesive, and then I'm just going to peel away the rubber sole from the midsole. Alright, so I'm going to apply a 40 volume solution to the soles. You can get this at any beauty salon. What I'm using is Sally's 40 volume. It has 12% hydrogen peroxide. And that is what we need to reverse the oxidation on the rubber soles. I do have an indoor setup for this step, but the sun will always be the best light to use since it has the strongest UV output. So the only time I really put them with the indoor setup is when it's nighttime. So this is what happens when you put the solution on for too long. It can cause chemical burns that can be permanent. You can use a Dremel tool to remove that thin layer of rubber to remove the chemical burns on the exterior of the outsole. If you want a detailed look on how I remove the chemical burns, I have a Patreon page where you can subscribe and you can see how I remove the chemical burns. And also if you need mentoring on restorations. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I will not deoxidize the patent leather since it's honestly too far brown to even deoxidize, so I'm going to repaint the patent leather instead. If I do try to use soy sauce on the patent leather, it'll dry out that thin layer of plastic coating and it'll also crack it. And it won't even go back to the original gray color, it'll only lighten it up. So here I'm trying to match that darker bluish tone of gray that's on the sock liner and on the pull tab where you see the 23 stitching on the back. Off the bat, I can tell that the color of the sock liner compared to the rest of the gray on the shoe, where the lace holders are, where the tongue is, the sock liner has a little bit more of a purple tone to it, so I'm gonna add tiny bits of purple just to match that color on the sock liner. It was hard for me to find on what base point to use as a color match until I went on Google and saw that the pull tab is always the same color as the patent leather on a brand new pair. So that's what I use to do my color match. So at this point in my color match, I could see slighter tones of red. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of infrared paint to give me that perfect paint match. Since blue and red make purple, I'm just gonna add a little bit more of that red tone. As I was working on the sole, I noticed that the midsoles have been warped due to excess amount of heat since these were previously worked on. So what I need to do is I'm going to set my temperature on my blow dryer on high, but set the fan setting on low. This will help me remove all of the factory glue more effectively than just using cotton balls and acetone, which will take a whole lot longer if I do it without any heat. Now, due to the age of the shoes, a lot of the dirt and grime are gonna build up onto the foam on the midsole. So you can see that I've already cleaned one of them and they look so much better. They look Colgate white on the left shoe. So what I'm gonna use to do the same thing on the right shoe is I'm gonna use Rejuvenator solution and a wire brush to really get in the deep, because it's like textured, like the sole's textured. So to get really in there, I'm gonna use a wire brush. Since the wire brush is made out of steel wires, I just found it to be more effective than using a really stiff plastic brush. Even though I've already removed the factory glue off of the midsole and rubber sole, I'm still gonna roughen up the rubber sole just to make the smooth surface a little bit more rough, since adhesive tends to not work as well on smooth surfaces. Alright, so my next step is to apply a very thin layer of adhesive onto the rubber sole just to act as a tacky surface when I apply my second layer of glue. So I'm going to be using a Dremel tool to kill two birds with one stone in this step. One, I'm going to remove the factory glue that's still on the upper, and two, I'm going to be removing a very thin layer of the leather, so I'll have a fresh layer of leather so our glue will bond a whole lot stronger. In the past, I would just tape up the upper material where the midsole meets the upper, and then I would just use cotton balls and acetone. Even though I've removed all of the factory glue, I still have that layer of old leather, and I've noticed that my re-glues would separate a whole lot faster. So with this method, by removing that thin layer of leather, you're going to have a fresh layer and your glue would be amazing. As I prepare to apply a thin layer of adhesive on the soles, I'm going to run it back with cotton balls and acetone just to make sure that there ain't no impurities on the sole, oils for my fingertips that'll affect the re-glue and cause separation. Alright, so I wanted to test out to see how well a shoe that is made of all Durbuck, which is a synthetic suede from 2001, so it's very old material, how well it'll do in the washing machine. Because I put them in the washer, and when I took them out, everything looked fine, except the top of the tongue did chip away. That's why you see that white fluff. So what I'm trying to do now is get a color match just to make that damage less noticeable. Alright guys, so I left the glue cure for a few hours now. Now I'm going to apply my second layer of adhesive on both the midsole and rubber sole just to have a nice strong bond. While the glue is still fresh, I'm going to line up the midsole and rubber sole together. Let it cure for 7 minutes. After 7 minutes is up, that's when I'm going to really clamp them together. One tip I recommend while re-gluing is having constant heat onto the soles. So I have a blow dryer pointing towards the soles on high heat settings with the low fan speed. And I'm just going to repeat the process onto the whole sole until the soles have been fully re-glued. So I do it section by section just so I reduce the risk of misaligning the rubber sole to the midsole. And if I do that, I'm going to have to start over. So a very cheap alternative to fill in the air bubble is to use another insole. So what I'm doing here is I'm making an imprint on the insole on the edge of the air bubble. This will make an exact guideline on what size to cut for the replacement of the air bubble. So right before I glue my upper down to my rubber sole, I'm going to make sure I remove any factory glue that I might have missed with cotton balls and acetone. So for this step, I'm going to add one thin layer of adhesive that makes contact with the upper, but I'm only going to do it to the midsole and not on the upper. After letting the glue cure for about an hour on the midsole, I'm going to start the re-glue process. For full control, I only glue a little bit at a time. Alright, cause look, so if I were to apply glue on the whole upper already, and then there was a misalignment when I'm trying to bond the shoes together, like the upper and the midsole, it's gonna stay like that. So, and there's no going back to that. You know what I mean? There's no fixing it unless I take the whole shoe apart again. So I'm just minimizing any errors I make by going little by little. And the whole process is rinse and repeat from your midsole to your rubber sole to your upper material to your midsole. So I'm actually gonna start on the heel first. Alright, so once I got the heel bonded, I'm gonna go straight to the toe just so the form and the shape look correct. So then I can make any adjustments I need on the sides. Alright guys, I'm gonna commit the biggest sin that you could do to a pair of shoes, and I'll explain why I'm gonna do it. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna rinse the shoes off with dish soap. You're not supposed to be doing that because it's gonna strip the essential oils that'll help, retain the flexibility of the material. If you keep doing this to your shoes, it's gonna crack, it's gonna get damaged long term. So if you do it once or twice, and it's no big deal, just make sure to replenish it with mink oil or something like that. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I did clean the shoes with a Rejuvenator cleaner. So what that does, what's inside of that cleaner is, surfactants and essential oils just to make your leather last longer, more flexible. But that's also gonna affect anything sticking on it. So my tape wouldn't stick, so that's gonna be a problem if I'm gonna paint the patent leather. Alright, so this is what I mean. It sticks perfectly fine on the midsole, but it kind of just rolls right off on the Durbuck material. And I want it to be completely flush, so when I airbrush the paint on the patent leather, it's not going to seep through the tape. So to prep the patent leather for repaint, I'm going to strip the top layer with acetone. This is my first time painting on patent leather, so I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. I didn't know which route I should have taken. For this project, I just applied adhesion promoter after I use acetone and cotton balls to strip the top layer of the patent leather. So for my next project, I want to try sanding it down first and then adhesion promoter and then painting it to see which is stronger. So now that I've fully prepped the upper, I'm going to apply Bulldog adhesion promoter all over the patent leather. Now with the paint match I did earlier, I'm gonna strain the paint with this paint strainer that I got from Angela's Direct. This is just to make sure that my paint gun doesn't get clogged while I'm painting the upper material. So the way I'm gonna tackle this is I'm gonna tackle it as if it's a regular midsole repaint. I'm gonna apply a few thin coats, and then maybe the 4th or 5th coat I'm gonna go heavier. I don't try to accelerate the drying time. That's gonna make your paint brittle and crack. So in between coats, I wait about 10 to 15 minutes until I start applying a new layer of paint. Looking at the paint match, it looks a little too light, so I'm gonna add a little bit of black to the paint match just to darken it up a little bit. After applying a few more coats of the corrected paint match, I'm going to finish it off with a high gloss finish from Liquitex. This is going to give us that patent leather look. And I'm also going to repeat the same process by adding a few thin coats at first and then go heavier on my last coats. Alright guys, so the moment of truth where I remove the tape. I'm actually going to have my X-Acto knife help me remove the tape because we did a lot of heavy coats of our paint and the clear coat, so our paint will peel off with the tape. So we're going to need to cut it so we'll have nice sharp lines. Now comparing the original patent leather to our freshly new repainted one, our finish does have a higher mirror-like finish to it compared to the original. We're pretty much done with this restoration. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Y'all take care and God bless. Yee!